This is Animation Nights New York Animator Interviews. My name is Yvonne Grinkevich. Thank you to Animation for Adults for letting us be a part of their channel. And next up in our series is an interview with Scott Renk. Scott is an independent animator, a musician, a teacher. Please enjoy. Thank you very much, Scott Renk, for participating in this interview.
I'm delighted. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be part of this.
Where are we now? You want to mention the conference a little bit?
Yes, so we are at the National Art Educators Association Conference in New York City at the Sheraton Hotel. I was up here teaching a couple of classes, urban sketching and teaching at-risk kids and changing communities of change.
That's great. Scott, you're one of our filmmakers at Animation Nights New York, and obviously we met at the Santa Fe 3-Minute Film Festival, which was great a few years ago, and we're thrilled to play your short as part of Animation Nights New York. You also, besides being a filmmaker, work with at-risk youth on art projects and urban sketching, and so I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about your animation background and filmmaking and music, if you'd like, and then also really maybe dive into some of the stuff that you're doing with at-risk youth.
Sure. I'll start off with my history of animation. I was a drummer, so I started off with doing a lot of music and drumming, and I could play some other instruments. I couldn't tell you one note I'm playing, but I could naturally pick up my ear to do that. So I had a strong background off that. I used to be an audio engineer for NPR in San Francisco, cutting quarter-inch tape, editing with that and all that back in the analog digital transition days. But I came back to North Carolina and I got laid off as an audio engineer. And so I decided to go back and do art education and finish up my degree. So I did that at UNCG, and I got and became a teacher. But it was probably around the year 2000 that I decided I'm going to do a bunch of like 10,000 bad drawings in order to do one good one. So now I'm doing about 50,000 bad drawings in order to do a good one. But that gave me the perseverance to kind of say it's okay to mess up, to get visual ideas, but once I said what's going to be wrong with doing a bad drawing, just practice doing that. So I found the perfect format to, oh my gosh, I can combine these two and actually make animation and film. I taught myself how to do animation, and the animation that I showed at Santa Fe, you can see it in the beginning because I started, I'm all hand-drawn. I'm not smart enough for the CG kind of realm.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool. Exactly. So you can see in this animation I did, I'm starting off with these pencil drawings in the beginning. I came up with me and my friend did a rock and roll song, and I decided I love octopus and something about biplanes and French guys flying. I thought it'd be really cool to have them battle. I started that animation off not knowing where it was going to go story-wise, but I just started drawing in pencil, and oh my gosh, scanning it in, and suddenly on this timeline I saw it move, and all of us as animators were like, the first time you saw something move, we're just like, oh my, I cannot believe it. You were hooked, But basically, I found out by the end of it where I wanted to go with the story of this battle, and I started added color in Photoshop, and so it was kind of by accident with how the animation went, but I think it did a good job of how it kind of transitioned into from pencil line into color animation. But then once I figured out and got it to end on time and the story really together, I think that was a pivotal moment for me. Because I don't have the technical skills, I think, of animation, but I found out that story is king, with everything. And I think my, lack of technical skills, I can hopefully make up for it with good storylines that the audience seems to enjoy. I remember seeing your animation there that really cracked me up, about the dinner thing. And it's just like, some people can do really flashy animation, but if it doesn't respond at a gut level, I can, at least I have I can do really bad drawings or whatever, but have a good storyline. That's what I love about animation.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's also an element of cool to that film, I must say.
Why, thank you. It's the mustache, I think, of the pilot. But yeah, it was totally completely phenomenal. I mean, and it blew me away. My experience at that one was, you know, we showed at this beautiful sold out theater. It was a 3-minute festival. I flew out from Raleigh and got there, and I met you, and I was up in the balcony. This is a funny story, but I had really bad back pain, and I was up in the very top of the balcony, and they announced they were about to do the announcing for best film and of the festival, and who they picked for that. So I was up there, and they said, and best film, Scott Renk Baron. And I literally remember I was like looking around because I was like completely like, I did not expect to win, but I was like, who is this Scott Renk guy? And then I realized it was me. And the worst part was I had to get up in the worst back pain I've almost been and walk all the way. If you remember, there was kind of a long.
Yeah, I remember that pause. I remember that pause.
Old man with bad back trouble coming down to get an award. He didn't even think he could win, you know. So, but it was just it was such an honor and such a phenomenal thing because there was this amazing films that were shown at that. But it was just, you know, eventually I kind of, you know, crept up to the beginning, and I have had back surgery, so I'm okay now. But it was just like so funny that that happened.
That was a nice little festival, and the venue was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I that was great. Yeah, I won a much lower prize, but I think it included free drinks like that you had to use that week, and so I just spent them all on everyone that was in the room.
It's funny you say that because my reward, I think, was $400 of just local stuff. So I actually I gave it to that night. I think people went to have drinks or whatever, and I ended up giving because there was no way I could spend $400 in one night. But I was honored. I mean, I was just so happy to do that. But I gave it to all the local people. You know, that they could go get massages and all that, whatever other stuff. But it was what a phenomenal event. You know.
Yeah, I think we spread a lot of good feeling that evening. No, that's great. Yeah, it was nice. It was so nice to see you win. That was a terrific little festival. So excellent. So do you have any, we had talked about this a little bit earlier, but do you have any projects that you're sort of looking to start in the near future? I know you have a ton of other things going on as well.
I do. I have two. I mean, I've done music for two pieces I want to do. My animation process is, well, I don't really do dialogue because I can't figure that out. But I'm very much like, I do music and it spurs an idea for me. I'm fascinated by the Day of the Dead tradition, and I've done some, I would like to do a stop motion Day of the Dead piece that I've already done the music to with that. And then I was going to do maybe an animation on a Soviet chimpanzee getting sent to the moon. Which is kind of along the style of the Baron style, a hand-drawn one I wanted to do, kind of a spoof of when the U.S. and Russia and Soviet Union was going at it as far as the race to the moon, but I was going to do a quick piece with that. I will say, though, I want to talk about my most personal project. It was one, my dad passed away very suddenly, and we used to listen to Louis Armstrong together, and I did a piece with Louis Armstrong music, and I drew it all the places that he was. It was like a balloon coming out of a coffin. But basically, I made it a point that on the year anniversary of his death, I was going to have this animation complete for that to show, and that's like what I'm most proud of, and just like the feeling that I got for doing that. But I don't think that just was a phenomenal. I'm so glad I figured out how to do animation in order to do that, because it still resonates every anniversary, and my family members love it. It's just a way of, you know, bringing that true emotion, you know, to go with that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to ask you about that piece as well. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, did you want to talk a little bit about sort of some of what you're doing now with urban sketching? And
yeah, so I did. This is it actually all ties together. So I did a Day of the Dead stop motion animation. I played an aluminum ladder for the music, and which is kind of funny because I'm not the handiest man, but at least I found something to do with the ladder, beat on it and make some animation to it. But it got into a film festival in San Francisco, and I used to live there, and it was just beautiful because it actually screened at the Mission Valley Theater, which I used to see the Day of the Dead kind of celebrations there in the Latino district, and I've always been spurred by just the beautiful art of that and the meaning of it, because I think of death as a colorful kind of what happened in the colors and embrace it kind of thing. But basically, on the internet I had a friend. I hadn't met him yet, but Matt Jones. He was a story artist at Pixar, and he came out to the screening and he enjoyed the piece, but we went out sketching afterwards to go sketch from observation and to go have a drink and sketch together. And so through that, he told me he was in this Art of Urban Sketching book, and so I kind of looked at that book and looked at his work and found out about the urban sketching community. And so there's urban sketchers across the world you're sketching on location and you're posting it, and really delving into stories that you find. But there was a symposium in the Dominican Republic that I ended up going to. All these kind of sketchy people from across the world all meet in the Dominican Republic, and it was a complete life changer. And I have to preface this by saying that my friends who are at Pixar, some of their portfolios didn't get them a job, but their urban sketching sketchbooks got them it because they could see what they're doing, and it obviously delves into studying. They do this to study how characters move and everything, but it's just such a great practice. I would say that it's probably eaten in a lot into my actual doing animation time, but I think it's good for the soul and for feeding. But I started a community in Raleigh of urban sketchers, and we've been doing a lot of sketching on location there, and I've been presenting at some architect conferences that we got into. My friend Frank Harmon kind of got me in, and our proposals got accepted, and even Peter Bolin, who designed the Pixar headquarters and the Mac Cube here, the Mac Store Cube here in New York, and all the other ones. It's just so important that they actually are into doing the sketching on location. So I kind of bit the bug, and I've just been obsessed since. And I've been teaching a lot of classes, passing it off to the next generations, trying to develop these communities, because a lot of artists are so focused on just their single environment where they are. This is great to have everybody come together, sketch on location, and throw down their sketches and just be amazed by it. So that is what I was teaching a workshop here. We had people from Ethiopia, from Hawaii, and everything with that, and it was this with my friend, colleague Angela Lombardi, which was just phenomenal, and what a great workshop it is. But it's just been a pleasure doing that in the urban sketching community.
That's beautiful, and I think there's absolutely a tie-in. I mean, if you think about the amount of what animation is at its heart, and the amount of observation that you have to do, and planning and study, I mean, it ties right in. When you have so do you meet up as a group and then talk about what your plan is, or just kind of have a sort of base camp and then everyone moves out and does their own thing, or is there a theme, or does it need to be structured at all? I teamed up with a contemporary art museum in Raleigh, and so we meet on the second Saturday of each month. And the beauty of our group is that we meet in the same warehouse district. There's so much change going on there. We will sketch a wall that goes back to the Civil War, and now it's not there, but so we're documenting all this crazy change. They're building a new train station. So we have a thing going, and we just go to environments around there, and we're in the same kind of atmosphere together, and then we have what we call a throwdown at 4:00, and everybody throws their sketches down and looks at them and just like, wow, and all that stuff. But there's a lot of sketching groups, urban sketching groups, that meet all over the city. The beauty of ours is that we do the most with that neighborhood, just documenting the change, and it's just incredible to see that.
But I take that practice everywhere I go. I carry a sketchbook with me everywhere I go and sketch people. In fact, my flight up here was canceled and delayed. It was canceled, but I didn't find out for like 5 hours sitting at an airport. And I was sketching people, looking at their stories, how they're doing things, so you don't get bored. But I take that practice everywhere I go, and that's what I was teaching these participants at this conference was like, okay, you can take this on a personal level, you can do it on a teaching level, and then you can build communities of urban sketchers to do this. So it's been a phenomenal ride.
That's amazing. So you have a blog where you're posting a lot of the results of these groups?
Yeah. It's called Scrangy 1020, but I can't remember the URL, but it's just if you Google Scott Renk, SCOTTRENK, it's my blog, and I post the communities. There's so many touching stories. We have terrible tragedy of this Syrian mother that comes out, and it's a healing process. It was a healing process for her to do this, sketching group. We have atheist, Buddhist, Christian, all cultures, Russian, French, everybody that comes together, and it's just it's an amazing group. It's probably like, it just is, I'm so proud of the community and everybody that comes out and does it. It's just really just a life changer,
That's beautiful. And how are you, speak to how you're incorporating urban sketching groups into curriculum?
Which will lead to, I teach it depends on, I teach the at-risk students, so that's, troubled youth. I teach at an alternative school. In addition to teaching at the alternative school, though, I'm teaching these workshops to architects, so I approach it a little bit differently. But the best part about how I work it into my curriculum here with the at-risk kids and with drawing and just students is really finding the story of a place. So I like to have simple distilled things. What did you learn? I can distill it in 3 words, character, conflict, setting. And that could be a pencil. And this can go for animation as well. That can be a pencil. What is that pencil's environment? It's struggle or whatever. And that can go on the macro level, on the micro level like that. But then on the macro level, you look at the city, and so you start studying about this city is facing change. What's the character? It's the city. What's the conflict? Urban sprawl. Poor people are getting driven out. So you can really delve into, just through sketching, so many things. The social studies, you can start doing urban design. Why are things like that? The story and character. But I forgot to mention that one time I sat with my friend Emily when we were urban sketching, but we did urban animation, and we did a flip book actually of something we saw, which I really wanted to maybe start trying and starting a movement of urban animation where you could just do a quick flip book of something that you saw, a building with clouds. It could be a tree, but it was a really cool kind of exercise.
That's great. That's great. And so during the throwdown, is that when do you analyze the drawings as a group?
Well, when I teach, I like to analyze them. It's funny, there's one guy that shows up at our group, and there's another group he goes to, and they call it, there's a gentle sharing, but that just
I like throwdown.
Throwdown is so much cooler. It's so much better.
Cool.
I don't want to be part of a gentle sharing, but I don't really, we just are amazed that we all are taking pictures. But during the community ones, I don't really break down the drawings like I do when I teach. I like to just kind of be in awe of everybody's stuff, and everybody's just like smiling, and then we do a group picture usually with their sketches. But everybody, and if anybody wants to talk about the drawings, but I don't really go into teaching and breaking down the drawings. We're just all amazed at everybody's style. Actually, tonight I missed the Contemporary Art Museum is doing a piece on our show. They're doing they hung our drawings up, and so there was a big first Friday night show, so it's out there with the community and everything they're doing with that.
That's excellent. That's terrific. And did you want to say anything more about working with at-risk youth? I mean, that's something that I know. I'm work sometimes with the Animation Project, and it's an interview. We did an interview with Brian Austin for Animation for Adults, which this podcast will be a part of. So there's sort of a tie-in there, but please speak to that if you.
Yeah, well, as you saw the presentation, it is my my true passion. I'm humbled in just what it has done and what art has done. I even tell some of my friends at Pixar, they just got to realize that, you know, if they ever feel like, oh, making these movies, that they really touch people and everything. But the at-risk community, I've been teaching in a public school now for 12 years. And it's, if anybody, at-risk students are, I have foster home gangs, pregnant teens, troubled youth, from 14 to 21. Some of them just didn't do well in a huge class of troubled, of 31 kids or whatever. But basically, I have changed hopefully have changed their lives through coming in the power of art and what they have done through that. So I've had kids that, as I showed before, that have gone off to art school because they had never done it, but their talent was just so amazing. So I let them kind of express themselves, embrace who they are, their culture, try not to put them in a box, but it is truly the most meaningful thing that I can do. And as I said, I'm not going to stop. I just want to keep doing it and doing it. But it's really hard, and as you know, because you did phenomenal work with the animation project, and you can really reach these kids, and they're so talented. But I just, 12 years of doing it, and I've done it in other settings as well, coming in as an artist with other things. But it's just like it's a game changer, and it's just, and I've done stop motion animation of them. It's on my Vimeo page, but I've done stop motion animation of them doing projects with music as well. So it's fun to work that and to do that.
That's excellent. Yeah, I would like to try out more stop motion animation projects. It's something I've not done with groups, and it seems like a lot of fun.
Well, it's crazy because in the classroom setting, how things have changed. When I was first starting off, these iPhone cameras, the power that these students have at their hands, on one part it's a nightmare because they're on social media during whatever, but the other hand, if you harness that, I mean, they have the power to do so much stuff just in their hands, and you can just get them to download a stop motion animation thing, introduce the concepts of squash and stretch. Oh, if you move something a little bit, then it's going to go slower. If you move it a lot, it's going to go faster, and they can take off with doing that. And the stop motion animation is really, well, I do it to serve. I'm my own animation style is like hand drawn and stop motion animation. I don't do a lot of the CG, which I need to learn more about and try to do that. But what they can do with these phones is just so amazing, and they can just tap in and start moving things on their desk, taking pictures, getting an idea of it, and so the sky's the limit with that. But compared to what we had to work with, it's just what they can do with those phones. So you got to keep them busy and doing that with their phones.
Did you draw much as a kid? I think this is something I'm going to ask everyone because I love the answer.
It's really funny. My grandmother she had an Italian background. She was an amazing oil painter. So it's just, I didn't really start drawing until around the year 2000. I had friends that were amazing at it, and just I was intimidated, I think, by how well they drew. But really, around 2000, I just said, I'm going to do 50,000 bad drawings in order to do one, and that's when I really broke through with that. So I was a late bloomer, and I've been a late bloomer for a lot of things, being shy and everything. They thought I was autistic, not artistic, but early on in my life. But they were like, does he get what he wants? Yeah, well, he knows what he's doing, kind of thing. But I was just shy and autistic. But basically, I was a late bloomer with that. But I'm just, once you can start drawing and figure out what you can do with it, it's just such an amazing feeling. But I was always into art and music, and it's this universal. Music feeds the visual, the visual feeds the story, and that's what I love about animation is you use everything. You use drawing, audio, story, feeling. You can use all of that. I can just preface that by saying, even on my trips when I was out in Ghana, Africa, I would start in a fishing village. I would play drums on a little tin thing on the beach in the fishing village. The children would come, and we couldn't speak the same language, but they were rapping, and we were smiling and doing that, and counter that with the power of, then I'm on a train in Italy, and I draw an Italian woman's portrait, and she gives me her tomato and cheese sandwich. So the power of art and animation to cut through the cultural barriers is just it's a crazy, wonderful thing.
So that's so beautiful, because you're using art as a tool to get through to all of humanity, it sounds, and you have a sensitivity to sort of know when those moments are most needed, it seems.
Yeah, well, it's true, and that's what we need in this world. It does wash the dirt of everyday life away with a lot of things, but it's so strong and so important, just like what it does, and it's transformational is really what you want to do. It can get people out of a bad place, it can, but it can also step it up and look at urban design, and drawing is just fundamental for everything. It's just a way of breaking things down, but it is so just important in the design process and everything that we think of and do pretty much in life, and sit and everything. But just and then to add audio on top of that, that's what I was talking about. Audio is it can be so abstract, yet you can hit a note and you're gonna just bawl out crying or something like that. It's just the way it enters, it's just a whole different presence, the way that something visual would do. But the combination of the two is just extraordinary. What you can do with it.
That's wonderful. This has been terrific. I'm so glad that you had some time to sit down and chat, because I know you've been super busy in this last few days.
It's been unbelievable. Just this whole experience coming up to New York and being able to teach urban sketching, plus spread the at-risk community change, plus with you, I can't thank you enough, because what you do for the animation community is just unbelievable. You're just like rock star status, what you're doing now, and just you're going to be filling 70,000 seat arenas every month now showing animation. But really, as a independent animator, I just can't thank you enough for what you did. Coming up here and screening was just unbelievable, but really what you do for the animation community is just the best. It's just amazing.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Scott Renk.
You can call me Dizzle.
Cut.
That's a wrap.
Awesome.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
If you would like to submit a film to Animation Nights New York, please check us out on Film Freeway or go to our website, animationnights.com. If you would like to help us out and donate, you could be a regular patron via Patreon. You can find links to that on our site, or you can buy us a coffee. Every little bit helps, so if you have an extra couple bucks, please do send it our way. It would be a great help. If you are in the New York City area around the second Wednesday of every month, swing on by 180 Maiden Lane in the Seaport District of New York City and come check out animated short films with us. We show animated short films and virtual reality animation experiences from all around the world. Admission is free, and also film submission is free. So keep supporting independent animation, and thank you so much for listening. I stumbled there. I'll cut that part out.
No problem.
Not live. That's the audio engineer.
Yeah, that's the audio engineer. Look for the spike. Okay, cut there.